Hi, I'm Amy Barasch. I'm the Executive Director at Her Justice, and I'm here with Carrie Goldberg, who has her own law firm that goes after pervs, trolls, who else?
Psychos, pervs, assholes, and trolls.
Exactly. So she's very, very busy each and every day. So Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about why you founded this law firm 5 years ago?
Sure. So my background is in nonprofits, like Her Justice is one, and I was getting out of a really controlling relationship, and my ex was threatening to post images and sending me emails telling me that he had blind copied judges and lawyers and sent them my intimate images. And I tried to get judges and the cops to be interested and to care, and instead they told me that this was this man's First Amendment right to basically express himself with my genitals. And it was a really startling moment for me, an experience for me, because even though I already was a lawyer, I had no idea like how to help myself. And I couldn't find anybody who kind of had that experience dealing with the intersection of internet and domestic violence law and free speech and criminal law. And so when I got to the other side of my crisis, I quit everything and decided I was going to become the lawyer that I needed.
No, it's an amazing story because I've done domestic violence work my whole career, and at Her Justice, about 80% of our clients are victims of partner violence. Mm-hmm. And as you know, there are always people who are trying to control and abuse other people, unfortunately. And as the tools get more sophisticated, our laws don't always keep up to address those more sophisticated tools. And I know you have one case that involves Grindr in particular, which I think is a horrifying but illustrative example of that case. Can you talk a little bit about the facts of that case and what you've been trying to do?
Yeah, so almost all of our cases involve some sort of tech abuse, whether it's a woman who's the victim of revenge porn, or a man who's being sextorted by a woman he had a one-time encounter with. The Grindr case involves our client, who is a 33-year-old actor / waiter, and his ex-boyfriend was impersonating him on the gay dating app and created profiles with our client's face and then directed strangers to our client's home, and they came into his job, and they came in person to have sex with our client. And it happened over 1,200 times.
Wow. And
I mean, like, in person. So when people say, use the terms like cyber harassment or online stalking, I'm like, no, these things are real life. These people were coming.
IRL.
IRL. And our client, he got an order of protection against his ex. He reported him to the police 10 times, and nothing would stop these strangers from coming. And so we got an order demanding that Grindr stop this offender from using their app, because by then our client had reported the profiles to Grindr 50 times, and Grindr just ignored all of them, and he ignored the order demanding that they exclude this user. And when they finally came to court, their lawyers said that they didn't have the technology to exclude a user from their app. So basically, they're in contract with these abusers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in a business relationship because anybody who uses their platform has to click and so we decided that. So when we sued Grindr, we did it under this product's liability theory, saying that they've released a dangerous product into the stream of commerce. It's defectively designed because it doesn't have the technology, it doesn't include the technology to ban abusers, ban abusive users. And to us, that was a very foreseeable problem, like a gay dating app that has, geolocating technology, of course, is going to sometimes be used by stalkers and rapists and child sex predators. So unfortunately, it got dismissed in the lower court, and then the Second Circuit upheld that. And so next stop is petitioning for cert from the Supreme Court.
Well, I think this is such a great, as an attorney, it's honestly really inspirational to see you be so creative. You're not going to win every single time with these creative arguments, but we have to come up with new ways to go after new technology. And so, it's an important intellectual exercise, but that has real life implications, obviously, for folks.
Exactly. And there's so many creative, uses of our law degrees. And we spend, at my firm, we spend a lot of time in family court and, trying to negotiate in police precincts for arrests to happen. But, we also, it's so important for us all to remember that tort law is there, and even products liability law, and that there are all these solutions to the things that are harming our clients.
And can you talk a little bit about another case? We actually led a amicus brief on a case that uses a very underutilized state law. The amicus brief was drafted by Kirkland & Ellis, and Emery Chelley is representing a plaintiff in a case that again goes to a New York state law that was created really to address the provision of the Violence Against Women Act that was struck down, the civil action under that. And you joined that amicus brief. Can you mention that case as well?
Yeah, so that was the Breest versus Haggis case. And that was, right now it's, so it involves a woman who accused a movie director of sexual violence. And she used the Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, which is a New York City law that gives plaintiffs a 7-year statute of limitation to bring claims. And it's a really important law because it has this longer statute of limitations. In New York, we have a 1-year statute of limitations when we want to get financial redress against an abuser using our battery law. And so this is a case where the defendant argued that, even if everything the plaintiff said was true about the sexual assault, she still needed to prove that it was motivated by animus. And he was basically saying, hey, somebody can sexually prey on another person, and it might not be motivated by animosity. It might just be because he can't resist women. And the judge said that was ridiculous, and then it's now being appealed. And so there's this really great amicus that her justice and Kirkland Ellis brought, and then they brought, I think, 9 different nonprofits and my law firm in to co-sign. And it's going to be a really important case.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it goes to this age-old discussion about rape, whether it's a crime of passion or a crime of violence.
Right.
And I think many of us now completely understand it's a crime of violence, and it's hard to imagine that crime not having animus as part of it. But historically, it has not been per se considered a crime of animus.
Right.
So we'll see if this, I think this could open the door. And New York did move forward with its own law in that regard, so that's exciting. And I want to give you a moment to plug your new book, because you're coming out with a book. So it's a way for all of us to be educated on what's scary about the world, but also maybe a little bit about how we can navigate this new world we're in.
Yes.
So tell us what the name of your new book is and what it'll talk about.
So my book is called Nobody's Victim: Fighting Stalkers, Psychos, Pervs, and Trolls. And it's being released August 13th by Penguin Random House. And it basically uses storytelling, my personal story, the story of the creation of my law firm, and then several of my clients have kindly let me use their stories to talk about their cases and the types of abuse and violence that we see, but also the ways that we can fight back, how we can use our courts and use legislation and use law enforcement to get redress, whether that's financial or through the penal system. And it ultimately is kind of a call to arms. It talks about what we need in terms of legislation, what we need in terms of all coming together and bringing these types of cases and asserting our voice and not letting those who try to silence us to win.
I think it's such an important point, and just to put in a plug for her justice too, I think what you prove through your work is that, first of all, this can happen to anybody, that it's pretty easy now to use technology to abuse somebody, and so you don't have to have the smartest, most sophisticated opponent to have that going on. And at Her Justice, we work with volunteer attorneys to represent folks living in poverty, And those are cases that really need lawyers like you, like our volunteers, because on their own, people couldn't prove these cases. And our volunteer lawyers also bring resources so they can collect the kind of evidence that you're talking about. So I think it's really, really important, and it's exciting and interesting because it really is on the forefront of the law. And these are experiences we're all having now. So thank you for the work that you do, and we look forward to partnering with you as well going forward.
Well, thank you for the work that Her Justice does. I mean, you guys have been revolutionizing and pioneering this space for long before me, and thank you for just, you know, creating the groundwork and also, you know, still being super innovative and fighting these fights.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you.